Welcome to Bridging Gaps, the business podcast sharing the challenges and stories of fellow business owners.
Hello and welcome. I'm Deborah Levitt, your host. This is the last of the episodes in Season 3. Now, Season 3 started off with the Microbiz Matters 7-Day podcast, where I interviewed not only Tony and Tina, Tony Robinson, OBE, and Tina Bowden, but also a number of other business owners, micro-business owners, and shared excerpts from those interviews. I've released some of the other interviews in their entirety, including Richard Woods and last week, Mandy Dineley. I thought it would be appropriate to kind of end the season as I began. So in this episode, I'm sharing the full interviews with Gemma Storey from Infinity Creative and Linda Huckle of Linda Huckle Training, also known as LinkedIn Linda. I'll be back in April with the start of Season 4, but in the meantime, please join me in welcoming Gemma Storey of Infinity Creative. Director and founder of Infinity Creative. How are you today, Gemma?
I'm good, Deborah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you so much for being part of the team, helping to not helping, but actually putting together the artwork.
That's right. Yeah, it's all in motion, and we've got it all set up, ready to go. Yeah, so ultimately we're a design studio, but it's mainly between me and my partner Adam. So he is more of what you'd say my tech guru. So he does the website developing, all that kind of thing. Whereas on my side of things, I do all graphic design related. So logos, branding, could be just flyer designs, print design, anything you name it. We're trying to be like a one-stop shop for anything design and web related.
And you do a range of things, because I've seen some things that you've done that are more, it sounds a bit odd, but more sort of drawn as opposed to, I can't quite describe it, as opposed to I guess, shapes and things. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I guess from my background, I've always been illustrative. So that was my first love, so we say, is I was very artistic as a child. And then as I kind of went through education, I finished school, I went to a college called Farnborough Sixth Form, and that's where I discovered graphic design. So it was kind of new to me that you could combine art with computers, my two loves. And when I saw the students designing sort of skateboard designs or magazines on computers, that was my first glimpse into Photoshop, which now is my main software that I use along with the whole Creative Cloud Adobe Suite. So I fell in love with graphic design and then carried on through to university, and now I'm doing it for myself. So that's where it all began, was from Farnborough Sixth Form College.
Oh, excellent. And what led you to starting up your own business?
I started it sooner than I expected. I always knew that I wanted to run my own business. I like to think I have quite an entrepreneurial mind, but at the time I didn't feel like I was ready. I was always told by family and friends, you must always have experience first before you kind of dip your toe into freelance water. And so anyway, when I finished university, I went straight into a job that I was working at, and for the most part it was great. But what made me leave was actually health reasons. I was in a studio that was very small. It didn't really have a great air circulation. It was quite bad air conditioning, and I noticed my health started to deteriorate really badly. I started getting a lot of sinus infections, and the nature of the work, it was very corporate based, which meant a lot of long hours, late hours. Sometimes I'd be doing like a 14-hour day and wouldn't be leaving till 2 or 3 in the morning. And over a period of time, this detrimented my health quite badly, and that kind of was the sign to go, well, that doesn't agree with you. And I took quite a lot of time out. It was actually this time last year that I was in hospital from it, and this was when I was thinking about what do I want to do, and this was kind of the push that I needed. So I eventually decided, I remember being at home with talking to Adam, my partner, writing a pros and cons list of leaving my job. And when I started writing the pros of leaving, I just started getting a bit more passionate. It was getting me excited what I could do. And so I handed my notice in on the February, started my business March last year, so it's not even a year old.
So it's still very new and fresh.
Very new.
And did you at any point did you sort of look and go, okay, actually the problem isn't isn't what I'm doing in terms of the graphic design and that it's for corporates. It's the environment that I'm in, and therefore the solution is to get another job rather than starting your own business. Was that ever an option?
Well, this is the thing. When I was at my last job, as I said, it was a very corporate. You're kind of... So the way it worked was the creative director would go out to the meeting, he would get the jobs, and then you were fed the conversation to the junior midweight designers. And to me, it was very isolating. For all I liked designing, you didn't have that interaction with the client. So when I went freelance, that was when I realized that was the best decision I made, because now I get to visit my own clients face to face. I get to know them personally, become friends over a period of months, and you get that, you establish that connection, and it's more rewarding because you're invested in their business and their personality. And that's exactly why I love what I do now, because that is what I was missing from my old job. It's just that one-to-one, like, human connection, for sure.
And I would imagine that having that connection impacts your artwork as well, because you're able to bring some of that emotion that they feel into the designs that you put together.
Well, that's the thing. I think when you're working for a corporate client, they give you their brand guidelines from their HR department, and it's very restricting that you've got to use a certain type of orange or a certain type of font, or that can't be too far away from the margin. Whereas when you speak to someone who runs their own business, like a pub owner, they can be as free as they want, and you can get to know their personality and inject it across their designs. And that's exactly what I needed, was the freedom. And it's ultimately, it's more fun. I enjoy it more.
Which is really important.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's really rewarding.
And what would you say is your definition of success?
I would say for me personally is being known for a good reputation, someone who goes the extra mile. So as you and I were talking earlier, it's almost like you can have loads of graphic designers in one area, but they want to work with you because they know you and they like you. And that's kind of my definition of success, is someone goes, oh, go speak to Gemma, she'll do a good job for you, and she'll do, she'll put you first, kind of thing, and she'll always go the extra mile. But obviously the other definition of success is money, and obviously you want to make it successful and kind of live off that and feel comfortable and enjoy it at the same time, so it doesn't feel like a job, but you can still live your life ultimately.
As you say, money comes into it because we need it to live.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be the only definition for you.
And this is exactly another reason why I learned going freelance, is it's not always about money. When you're my last job, you've got a stable income, but I wasn't happy. I really was not happy. I was miserable. I used to dread getting up in the mornings and kind of facing the day. Whereas now it's like, right, who am I helping today? Oh, it's I don't know, Sophie the florist, or it's Sally the dog groomer. Like, you get like, right, I'm helping that person. And that's exactly why I prefer my life now, because I've actually had more of a purpose.
Well, I think that comes through even in what you've just said there, is that you haven't said, who am I working for today? You said, who am I helping today? Which actually says a lot about your perspective on it.
Exactly. As you say, like, going back to the corporate side of things, it's like you get given a list of, right, you need to do this and this and this and tick it off by a certain time. Whereas when you're a creative person, to be told that you must be creative between a certain time, like 9 till 5, it's so limited. And actually it does the opposite. It makes you less creative. I found there were days where I was really struggling to muster like ideas for design. Whereas now, like, if I want to take 10 minutes out of my day to kind of go for a walk, it inspires me. And this is what I'm finding. I go, oh, I can use that idea for my client, she'll like that. Like, I think of them all the time. And this is what I've noticed over the very few 9 months that I've been in business, is I'm always constantly thinking about my clients and thinking of how I can help them. And as you say, you're helping their business, you're invested in their time and them, essentially. You get to know them, and that's why I love it.
And when you think about it, so one of the things around microbusiness or microbiz matters is to create awareness of micro businesses. And something that I'm interested in is just how people tend to define themselves in terms of, do they refer to themselves as a micro business, or do they say I'm self-employed or I'm an entrepreneur? What kind of term are you using to describe yourself in relation to your work and your business?
Yeah, I mean, I've never actually used the word micro business, but it does actually reflect how I see myself. I'm certainly a small business owner because it is just me and my partner Adam. But whenever I refer to myself, it's usually just freelancer, or as I said, I'm a small business owner. But it definitely ties in to micro business, and I think there's something quite beautiful with working with other micro businesses as well.
And do you find, if you're going out to speak to a prospective client, do you represent yourself as being, a bigger organization than you are, or are you still really referring to just yourself and Adam when you're speaking to them?
Definitely just me. I think I like to be very honest with my clients that it is a very small team, and I think that's probably why they like it, because they know it's just me and they're getting that personal touch, but they know that my partner Adam is also there on hand to help them, mainly on the website side of things. Obviously there's certain aspects that I collaborate with other business owners. So for instance, I work with a photographer who does my branding photography for my clients, or that kind of way I might collaborate, and I'm completely honest that I work with other people. But in terms of Infinity Creative, it is just a 2-person team.
And when you're looking for support, so whether it's suppliers for you or to support the work that you're doing for your other clients, do you find that you do lean towards other micro businesses, or are you really not taking that into account as part of the decision-making process? It's just, this is the right company for what I need now.
No, actually, it's very important to me that it's a micro business purely because of the service you get. So for me, I'm always dealing with printers. So ideally, I want a print company that I can drive to and get to know them. So especially when I was starting out, there was a small team over in Fleet called Zebra House Print. There's only 3 of them, but you get to know them personally, and it's like you feel like you're helping each other out. And like I said, you just get a far better service because it's their business. Instead of going for a corporate company, it could be a lot longer because they don't know you, so there's no rush to kind of fulfill your service of the job. Whereas if you phone up and go, "Hi Dave, it's me again, I need printers for 250 business cards," like, "No problem, Gemma, I'll get them sorted, I'll deliver them to your house." Like, that's the kind of things that I love, and that's the community spirit that I think drives us all. That's why we've all gone starting our own businesses, because that's what we value.
Yeah, that interaction with other people and supporting one another.
Yeah, it's that community feel. That's what drives it. I think that's what's lacking in other places, where you just want to get to know the person behind the business, and that ultimately you're helping each other because you're in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. It's win-win all round, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you were thinking, so again, one of the things Microbiz Matters does as a movement is to try and have a number of different campaigns. So for example, they've got Pay in 30 Days, which is trying to get actually the larger organizations to commit to paying everybody in 30 days or less, because that'll then cascade down to, to us micro businesses, and everybody is better off when we're not having these cash flow issues.
Yeah.
But they've got a number of different campaigns which are for micro businesses overall. And I was just wondering if you had any ideas or thoughts on, something that you think would benefit micro businesses generally.
Maybe it could just be help on how to set up your business. So someone like me who knows they want a business but doesn't know where to start. So almost like the tools of where to begin. Like, first of all, you need to think of your branding. So of course that would tie in with graphic design. So maybe they need to know who to go to, or the tools, and maybe like project management tools, that kind of thing, or things they just need to be aware of, like all the pitfalls that people who've already had their business for many years have come across and thought that could be really useful for someone else. So I would say the starting up, setup would be really a good idea. Yeah,
so knowing there's a place you can go to get assistance with that type of thing.
Just like a process that they can follow, and kind of doesn't have any pitfalls. They can just be successful straight away.
I know this is what I need to do and what it's going to take. And the other thing is, being on the 11th of January this year, every year they have an I gave and then whatever number of the day we're on. Luckily, it's only ever likely to be up to 14 or 13, I think. So this year it's I gave 11. And the idea is about, giving something to support other micro businesses, or in some way to maybe support your own well-being or other people's well-being. So it could be a blog post with 11 points on it. It could be that you spent 11 minutes doing something or spoke to 11 people or drawed?
That could work.
Drawing 11 somethings.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you feel that you'd be able to do for I Gave 11?
Yeah, actually, something I've noticed recently, a fair few amount of my clients like to kind of do things themselves in terms of they do their own social media. So I thought it would be quite a good idea is the first 11 people that I work with, I could offer them like social media templates to advertise whatever they're promoting. So for instance, if it's like a dog groomer, they could have like a discount and they've got all the tools to kind of post it on Instagram or Facebook. And I think in a digital age, that's ideal because that's how we all do our marketing is through social media. So yeah, I think the next 11 clients that I come across, I will offer 11 free social media graphics.
Excellent. That is wonderful. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Details in the show notes. We're going to join Linda and I now, and we're partway through a conversation because Linda and I had a bit of a chat about what her company name is, because I always think of her as LinkedIn Linda and never quite remember that officially she's Linda Huckle Training. So we'll join partway through, and as she's talking about the importance of a brand, which is LinkedIn Linda for her. You'll also notice that at the end, Linda talks about the group and what she is doing for Microbiz Matters Day. And obviously that particular session is now over because that was back in January, but the LinkedIn Light Bulbs group is still there, and Linda is always answering questions, doing Q&A sessions, so make sure that you check it out. So join me now in welcoming Linda Huckle.
So business.
Yes.
You do need that definition. You need that people understand who you are. So if I say who I am, people won't remember Linda Huckle Training.
No, exactly.
They will remember LinkedIn Linda.
So we've got LinkedIn, clearly, we've got Linda, and we've got training.
Yes.
Do you want to just explain a little bit more about what it is that you do in terms of supporting people and training people on LinkedIn? So what your objectives are when you're training people?
Yeah. So my objectives is, it does depend on the type of client, but usually I do a lot of training one-to-one with sole business owners, micro busies, really. That's not a word, is it, business?
No, but I found that I've been using it in all sorts of ways, but it works.
Yeah. So basically what I do is I have a set of questions that I ask people before they do any work with me, just so that I can get a handle on who they are, what their business is about, and how they might use LinkedIn to their advantage.
Right.
LinkedIn is great. It's a great platform. However, different people use it in different ways, and you've got to find the right way that works for you.
Yes.
And that's what the pre-training conversation's about.
And so do you help them to realise that there are other ways to actually use LinkedIn?
Yes.
As well as what they've maybe just assumed it's there for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of assumptions about LinkedIn.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that I make assumptions because of, when I started using it, and also when LinkedIn started, it was a very different beast to what it is now.
Certainly was.
And its purpose and all of that was very different.
Yeah.
So it's moved along a lot.
It certainly has. I mean, this is really how I first got into LinkedIn. So I used to work for the university in Farnham, UCA.
Right.
And I used to work with the staff on using LinkedIn to be able to find either new roles or to be able to use the alumni part of LinkedIn. That was what one of my roles was at the university. And then when I became a sole business owner, I knew that I could use it in a different way. And so I did quite a lot of development, personal development, so I could learn best how to use it for my business.
Okay.
And then realised, actually, because I'm an IT trainer, that's what my qualifications are in, and I've got years of experience of helping people one-to-one in IT.
It's a perfect match.
It does, and it really matches well.
Yeah.
So it's that plus all the people development work that I did, so I can help people learn in the right way for them. I can help by asking the right questions because of my coaching background.
Yes.
And that's how I use my training. It's more coaching than training.
It's funny, isn't it, how suddenly everything suddenly fits together. You discover that all of these different things that you've done merge into actually, this is what I now want to do.
That's right.
Yeah. So just because you've talked about becoming a sole trader, what made you decide to start your own business?
I think the main thing is I've always had in the back of my head, I'd love to work for myself, always. And having been in employment for years and years and years, and like most people who start in business, I think these days, it was changes, restructures, things weren't quite going in the right way, and I could see that there wouldn't be a role for me much longer, or if there was a role, there wasn't any progression. And I think that was the main thing.
Right.
I needed to do something different, something that would give me that job satisfaction. And that's one of the main reasons. So,
and what made you decide? So I know you've said that you always kind of had that little niggle that said, I want to work for myself.
Yeah.
But what made you decide at that point that now was the time rather than looking for other job opportunities?
I think a lot of it was a bit age related, actually.
Yeah.
I was in my early 50s, getting another job, going into the employment market when you get to a certain age isn't as easy.
It's not.
But I spoke to an awful lot of people about doing what I'm doing now and finding out the best way to do it, finding out what the challenges were before I decided I'd make the jump and go for it. So I started off actually by taking the role part-time at where I used to work.
Okay.
So that would give me a couple of days a week to focus on doing something different. So it was a very gentle introduction. I did that for a couple of years. And then in 2014, I decided, this is what I want to do.
And that is nice when you can balance it that way.
Yeah.
So you've got not just the actual time, but the headspace to also think about your business as well as knowing that there's an income coming in that's helping you to keep developing that.
That's right. Yes.
So when you look at your business and you're thinking about, what am I aiming to achieve? I think we've all got our own views of what success means to us.
Yes.
So what does success mean to you?
To me, it's coming home at the end of the day, knowing I've done a good job and I can see people putting into practice what I have helped them to do. That for me is my biggest motivator.
Which is a lovely motivator.
It is.
It's very satisfying, isn't it, when you also see people progress or take action or something shifts because of something that you've been able to support them in.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
And as we're obviously talking about microbusinesses, microbusiness for me is a term that is relatively new, and I think that tends to get mixed up with SMEs. Do you tend to identify yourself? So if you're going to a new client or a potential client, do you think of yourself and introduce yourself as a micro business? Or would you say I'm self-employed or, whatever term somebody else said, they think of themselves as a freelancer or an entrepreneur? What term relates to you?
Yeah, I think for me, independent. Is the best term I could say. I suppose you could say freelance, but I'm an independent business.
Okay.
So the business is mine. Everything I do is what I've put into it. So I think I don't consider myself an entrepreneur because I'm not. I'm a trainer. That's my trade. So I'm not an entrepreneurial. I have no ambition to be the top LinkedIn trainer. I have no ambition to be known worldwide. I know exactly where my boundaries are. I know what I enjoy, and that's helping local people. So I don't introduce myself as a microbiz. I introduce myself as an independent LinkedIn specialist trainer.
And that's great that you know what those boundaries are for you as well. Because as I said, everybody's got their own definitions.
Yeah.
But quite often, especially I think with television and all of that these days, the success that jumps to people's mind is worldwide fame on the television and all of that. And yet for so many people, that's not actually what success looks like at all. And it's not what they're seeking.
No.
So it's a perfect match with you.
Do you know, I often talk about when I'm talking about LinkedIn and looking at your ideal audience, where are they? You know, because there's no point putting stuff out on LinkedIn globally if your audience is local.
Yes.
You need to make sure that you're targeting a message to reach the right people. Now, I use a phrase which is being famous in your own world. And so you've got to identify what your own world is.
Yes.
So I think that's quite a nice way to look at it.
It's absolutely, because it's like, actually, I'm known for what I do in the area that I want to work in and want to be known in.
That's right.
And that's what's important.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So when you're looking for support and you're looking for other businesses to help you, do you just choose whoever seems to be the best fit, or do you make any conscious effort to say, actually, no, I want to support other micro businesses and to actively, I guess, consciously maybe choose to work with them instead of the bigger organizations where possible?
Always, yeah. I prefer to work with people who are in a similar position to me. So sole traders, if possible, local people, so that I'm then able to better recommend them to my clients. So, for example, I work with copywriters who can help my clients with writing their profiles, because that's something I don't do. I don't write profiles for people. I help them to write their own, but I don't do it for them. Not everyone's clever with words. Not everyone is happy or actually has the time. So I have 3 copywriters who I work with, 2 very local, 1 not so local, but they're all different skills and they have different backgrounds. So they are going to be the right fit for different clients. I work with photographers. And again, because most of my clients generally are within the Southeast, so they tend to be based in the Southeast. I work with business coaches, with website designers. And again, it's the same thing. It's making those local contacts who will be able to introduce me to their clients. I can introduce them to them. I can introduce them to my clients as well. And then that's the way it works.
And it is, it's something that with Tina and Tony, which they talk about a lot, is that network of networks.
Yes.
Where you're expanding. So you're supporting one another by giving each other business, but you're also introducing.
Absolutely.
And there's that trust factor as well, isn't it? Because they know, if you introduce somebody to me, I know that, you believe in that person, you trust that person, and you're not just going, I'm going to get a referral fee or something like that. It's all about that trust and relationship, isn't it?
It really is.
Yes.
I do quite a lot of offline networking as well as online networking. So I can build those relationships. It's all about being present and being visible.
Yes.
In both ways. And that's how people learn about you.
Yeah, and they start to hear about you and to build that awareness of you as well.
So powerful, isn't it?
It is.
It really is.
Very powerful. Yeah. And so, Linda, one of the other things is basically Microbiz Matters is more, Tony and Tina refer to it as a movement. So they're really just trying to make people aware that microbiz matters, but also to deal with the matters of microbusiness. So helping people with, being aware of payment and that. So one of their campaigns is Pay in 30 Days. Another one is Indie 25er, which is trying to spend 25% of your outgoings locally, 25. Yes. So it's all about the bigger microbusiness picture as opposed to an individual. And I was just wondering whether you have anything that you you can think of that you think would benefit micro businesses overall, or a particular sector of them?
Oh gosh, yes. Now that's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that are available that either I provide or that people I know can provide. And as you were saying earlier, that's the core. I believe of any business is knowing somebody. In fact, my daughter-in-law says to me, "Linda, you know everyone. Who do you know who?" So I'm often looking at my group of contacts. So I suggest always ask local people for real recommendations that are genuine and authentic. I absolutely with Tony on the 30-day campaign, having been in a position myself when I waited a long time, and it was hard because it was quite a lot of money.
Yeah, and when you're depending on that, and it doesn't come.
No,
I know somebody who actually called the company to check. They were meant to have been paid and hadn't, and basically they got paid by the fact that she burst into tears.
Yes.
And she didn't do it deliberately, but then afterwards it's like, well, I shouldn't have to cry to get paid.
No.
So the whole pay in 30 days is a really important thing. And I like the aspect of that where Tony is saying that they want to get the government to agree that they will only use companies that pay in 30 days because while we may not be working directly with that company, it all trickles down.
It does.
Yeah,
yes.
Because they're then saying, actually, we'll only work with you if you pay in 30 days.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a big one, isn't it?
It is,
And I know even as a contractor, I think the last contract I was in, it took 6 to 8 weeks for me to get paid. And it was like, well, I'm here, I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
It's, anyway. And last but not least, because Microbiz Matters Day is on the 11th of January, this year they're doing I Gave 11. So the idea is that we give 11 of something or 11 somethings to support other micro businesses. And I was just wondering if there was anything that you could give for the I Gave 11.
It's interesting actually because I'm doing something special for Microbiz Matters today. Not today, on Friday, on the 11th. I'm doing I've just set up a new group. It's in Facebook, but it's going to be about LinkedIn. It's just because Facebook groups are better equipped to do the type of hints and tips and live video you can't do in LinkedIn yet. Although rumours are that could be on the way. So on Friday at 1:00, I'm doing a question and answer session.
Okay.
And I have a list of 11 questions.
Excellent.
Or I'm building a list of 11 questions from the Facebook group, which is called LinkedIn Light Bulbs.
Right.
It's open to anybody to access, and I'll be live answering the 11 questions. And then obviously I'll be following that up. It's not just about one day at the end of the day, but it's nice that we've got this to kickstart whatever's going on out there so that people can continue the work.
Yes.
Rather than doing it all on one day.
That's it. It's building up the momentum throughout the year.
Yeah.
So, wonderful. So thank you very much, Linda. With Linda Huckle of Linda Huckle Training and Gemma Storey of Infinity Creative. You'll find contact details for them in the show notes. I'll be back in April with season 4, and you can expect lots more exciting and interesting guests, including the continuation of my conversation with Richard Dwyer. In the meantime, if you want to know more about podcasts or podcasting, make sure that you check out my website or drop me an email, deborah@bridgeroadconsultants.com, and I'll let you know what's happening. One of the things that will be taking place, exact dates to be confirmed, but at the beginning of April, is a workshop to help you to figure out whether or not a podcast is right for you at this point in time. I'll see you in April. Enjoy the rest of March. Gaps, the business Business podcast was produced by Deborah Levitt of Bridge Road Consultants Limited, with original music provided by Pete Dineley.
You've been listening to Deborah Levitt on Bridging Gaps, the business podcast.